Welcome to California Virtual Family Law Attorney with founder Linda Garrett.
Welcome to California Virtual Family Law Attorney with founder Linda C. Garrett. With over 20 years of experience practicing family law, Linda and her firm offer a unique blend of traditional representation and unbundled legal services custom tailored to the needs of the individual. I'm your host, Jon Clemence, and today's episode is Beyond the Billable Hour, the benefits of unbundled legal support in family matters. So Linda, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me again. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk with you. So let's start off with kind of a bit of a recap maybe from a previous discussion, but can you just explain what unbundled legal services are and how they're maybe different from like the typical attorney thing?
Yeah, well, let me first address something that comes up quite often. People seem to use the phrase unbundled interchangeably with limited scope. And some attorneys even do the same thing, as do judges. But essentially, we need to first clarify unbundled. So unbundled is just like what we're unbundling something. And what are we unbundling? We're unbundling the services that are provided in a traditional sense. In the traditional sense, for example, you give the money to the attorney, and we do all the work, literally from creating your files, to the filings, to the forms, to going to court, making the copies. It's everything. Like, again, that analogy I've used in the past, you go into a restaurant, you just pay your bill and they do everything else, right? So that's the traditional. So when we take that traditional, which I call it the umbrella, so here's the traditional that has everything in it, and the unbundled, this umbrella of sorts, we're now taking a part out for coaching. Do you need coaching on everything? So going back to, for the example of you in one of our last podcasts, where you're the bad guy, you're thinking of filing for a divorce, and you know it's going to be expensive, and you honestly don't care if you lose your pension. You go, you know what? I don't care about any stuff, but Linda, I need help with the kids. So in that sense, there's a way to do coaching services where I'm teaching you how to do the property division, how to fill out the forms for disclosures, all those things that I can coach you on. But then that's a form of unbundled services. But then there's also, under this unbundled services umbrella, limited scope representation. So that's different from the unbundled. It's an example of unbundled. And I'm trying to be as clear as I can. So on the limited scope, what that looks like is I'm coaching you on the house, the pensions, filling out the forms, blah, blah, blah. But then when it comes to the children, I step into your shoes on just those issues: children, custody, visitation, maybe even child support, maybe not child support, but at least custody and visitation, because that's your heart. Of course it is. So you can have a blend of under the unbundled of helping you with these issues, but representation on one of the issues for one hearing or for all the hearings. So that's the big difference, is that on the unbundled, you get to pick and choose, but unless it's a limited scope on any issue, it's all coaching on all issues. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think it speaks to that gives you maybe a little bit more control over your legal experience, but does it also help with costs in any way?
Oh, just about 50%, if not
huh?
more. That's all. If you don't care about money, but for most folks who do call me, that is huge, because again, when you hire the attorney to do all the work, that's called the traditional. You're paying for us to type your name, John, your address, and you don't need us to do that. Please don't pay for us to do that. You don't need to. So in the coaching, you don't need me to tell you how to fill out your name, but you do have a question, let's say on, I think I know what data separation is defined as. And I say, well, we need to know because we're going to identify which assets are community and which are not. So they'll say, well, my 401k is mine, right? Because it's in my name. So that's mine. Like, bam, was there any deposits made during the marriage? Well, all of them. Oh, guess what? But what about the house? That's mine. It's in my name. She even signed a quick claim deed. Woohoo! Was it purchased during the marriage? Yes. And it's because she had bad credit. How did you know that? You're a mind reader. Like, guess what? Bam, community property as well. So as they're filling out these forms, I'm making sure they're filling them out correctly. They're in compliance with the laws as to the forms. And I'm educating them along the way, because let's just say if that person didn't know that that house was community, they're going to be fighting about that house for the next 3 years. No, it's my house. No, it's ours. No, it's because the wife is going to be correct. It's half our house. And so very much at the get-go, as I'm educating my client on these definitions, i.e. the law, they're seeing like, oh, so don't fight about the house. No. And don't fight about the 401k. Right. They're like, got it. So in the coaching model, I'm teaching them how to fill out the forms. Not just that, I'm not a paralegal. No. I am an attorney, and I'm making sure they're filled out correctly pursuant to the law, because legally speaking, a paralegal or a document preparer who's not licensed by California laws it's a misdemeanor. It's an actual crime to fill out the form saying, I know how to fill these out for you. You just sit there and tell me your name. That's a crime, actually. So I think I diverted. What was the original question?
That's okay.
I'm so
That's
sorry.
okay. No, I think you talked it through.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're getting a good overview of what it really looks like to hire you as a coach as opposed to an attorney. And so in our last episode, we talked all about the kind of the use cases of where it comes in handy to have these kind of services. And one thing I didn't get to ask you about was, are there any situations where you would actually counsel someone, no, actually this one really should be attorney from the get-go?
Well, first of all, I would say 90% of callers, for me, I can't speak for other attorneys because they're going to whatever attorney is going to see this family law. Hell no. What is this woman talking about? But just for the record, to the listener or the viewer, I have been doing coaching services since 2002. I've been practicing law. 2003. I've been practicing law in family law since 2001. And I received training by the state bar for the San Francisco State Bar in San Francisco for an entire 2 days, full days, weekend, just on these types of services, coaching, unbundled, limited scope. So I've been doing this for over 20 years. So I think I know what I'm doing. No, I know. I would actually go as far as say I am an expert, because I've been doing this for over 20 years. So I would say most people would say they need an attorney. And I would say no. But to your question, Jon, where can I help them? If I hesitate, it's because it's everywhere. There's no exception. Where I would see, okay, my apologies, where I could see where it's needed is someone who speaks Spanish or another language, but we can communicate enough. In fact, I do have a new client that I've known. She's a family member, and I've done some little coaching on the side, but now the husband is doing some really horrible things. He's beating her up and then calling the police and putting her in jail. Like, it's bad because she's Spanish speaking and she can't communicate, but she does enough with me. And plus I understand Spanish more than I speak it. So, but no, I do not take on Spanish speaking clients. I understand basics, but I don't take on those types of clients, just in case somebody's like, oh, pues Garrett, si habla español, si puede ayudar. No, I don't. But there are people like the person who doesn't speak English well, or there's someone who doesn't catch on quick. Like I'm repeating to them for the fourth time, FL-10. What was that again, Garrett? F as in Frank, Lima. I can tell they're just not listening very well. So it's more the person who doesn't speak the language very well, or the person who just, that rare, and it's rare, Jon, but that rare person who doesn't pick up what I'm saying. And they're like, so what did you say again? So now what I do with all my coachings, with their permission, advance permission and notice, I record the conversation so that they can purchase the coaching if they wish, to then buy it. So they don't have to ask me for the 10th time. So essentially I can help with anything short of the person who doesn't speak the language or struggles with it, or they just don't get it. For whatever the reason, their brain just doesn't do well, which is rare. And on occasion, I'll take the case where I just feel it's an injustice. It just feels like a David versus Goliath. So with my client, who's a new woman, I feel angry for her. So it's like, no, not on my watch. I feel protective of this woman. So I feel she definitely does need the help, even though she's navigated on her own for the last year.
Yeah. So
but in other words, bottom line, it's the majority of people, majority of instances, with very few exceptions. Yeah. In my case, I'm only speaking for myself.
Yeah. And I think it's just, again, I mean, it's so unique to me to hear such a wonderful service. I don't hear a lot of other attorneys offering. And I'm curious as to your thoughts as to why do you think other attorneys or most other attorneys might not offer these services? Like, are there misconceptions? Are there issues that they think are?
No, if I'm being honest, there's no money in it. Think about that, right? So why would I ask John to, and this is on my website, so I'm not saying anything that's new, but on my website as of 2025, is when this is being recorded in May, is that based on my decades of family law experience, my rate is $450 for that 1 hour. So when I get a caller, they're like, I can pay you 5, 10, whatever that number is, but it's in the thousands, of course. And this is usually the case where someone's lying, they're hiding assets. There's a lot going on behind the scenes as well. And I know that whatever that deposit is going to be swallowed up within a few months, if not at 6 months. So for me, well, let me clarify to your question. So why do attorneys not offer this? Is because one, they've not got the training to understand the benefits, but also they're thinking small. They're thinking, well, there's nothing in it for me. Why would I get paid an hour or two when I could pay thousands of dollars? You're seeing green little dollar signs in this person's eyes. And what's interesting about that, John, is that again, back to the last podcast, the big why. Why am I doing this? And I decided, even before I became a lawyer, and I have my ex-husband to thank for this. He was a doctor. He goes, I don't want you to go to law school. I say, why? He goes, I hate lawyers. I go, but you met me while I was working at a law firm, and I told you I was gonna go to law school. He goes, yeah, but no, you can't do this while we're divorced. But I asked him why, and he says, it's just they're all snakes. They just care about themselves. They're just what's lining their pockets. So I don't want you to be that, because you're going to be that person if you become a lawyer. So that stuck in my head. I'm like, oh, that's what he thinks of lawyers. And honestly, that's what a lot of people think of lawyers. So I had decided before I graduated law school, I would be of service initially. So my initial goal was in law school to be an environmental lawyer, save the environment, woohoo! Except my first internship, Communities for Better Environment in Mission District of San Francisco, my boss, who was a graduate of Yale, yes, the Yale, published author, all that stuff. And he was buying a house with his wife at the time, who was a PhD doctor. And I don't know how we knew this, but he was on his desk writing his income in. And it was just all there for us to see. Was I staring at it? No, I don't think I was. But his gross income as the director of this business, Yale person, published author, his gross income back in 93-ish was a whopping 40,000. 40,000 for San Francisco.
Yeah.
I could make it 90,000 as a litigation paralegal. And I was a single parent at the time. So I was like, I can't be, environmental law. But the point is that I wanted to use my license for good. So, okay, well, I'm not going to sacrifice my life because I cannot feed my young child with this money. So for me, the good news is that by putting my clients first before the pocketbook, it always works out. That's the thing that attorneys don't understand, because why? I get a lot of positive 5-star reviews. I get people referring others to me. Like I get people from the courthouse staff referring coaching clients to me, other attorneys, former clients. And so I am so busy. So now I can afford to pick and choose and only have those folks be my clients for full representation when it's time. So every client I have right now, like I have a trial tomorrow, he started off as a coaching client. So all the clients I have now are coaching that started off. But so the point is, everyone needs coaching, but not everyone stays as coaching. They'll eventually, maybe 20% will convert to full representation down the road. So I do it because it lines up with my values. I do it because it is lucrative. And ironically, because it is a niche and nobody knows about it, I have no competition. That's the thing. So it's, maybe more attorneys will offer this service for their clients, but I'll go back. I went 10 years ago to a trial training in Denver, Colorado. And I remember asking people around me, like, do you offer coaching? Do you offer coaching? And one person flat out told me, oh, gosh, no. No. That's malpractice. I would never do that. If any attorney does that, that's malpractice. And that's the way a lot of people see it, but they just didn't receive the training. And I think the last thing that gave me validation that I was on the right track was that I went to a seminar in Sacramento, and I went on the plane down to Burbank to visit a family member. Immediately out, I mean, literally had the luggage with me at the seminar, and I get on the plane, and on the plane in the first row was the judge conducting the seminar. And, as an attorney, I'm like, hi, sir. I wanted to keep on walking. He goes, oh, no, Miss Garrett, come on, sit right next to me. I'm like, okay. Hello, how are you? And so, of course, you're next shoulder to shoulder with a judge who you highly respect. And he says, so who are you? What do you do? And then I asked about the coaching. I said, here's what I have clients, but I've been offering this coaching. I want your thoughts about it. And I'm kind of like waiting for something to spill, the milk or something. He goes, oh my gosh. He says, that is great. He goes, don't you dare stop what you're doing. We need this in our community. There's too many underserved folks who need what you offer. So I don't care what the naysayers say, lawyers, other judges, you keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, I got the green light to know, and the validation that what I'm doing is right. And so bottom line is that I offered because it's the right thing to do. I offered because it aligns with my values. I offered because it helps others have resources they otherwise would not have to use in their case. Again, subpoenas, like we're subpoenaing a police officer for a trial, or subpoenaing bank records, credit card statements. And those are crucial when you've got that person who says, oh, Your Honor, pockets are empty. I have no money for support. Meanwhile, they've got the Lexus, the Rolex watch, the newest phone that just came back from Las Vegas. And you're like, no, there are funds there, but the person who's going to hire the attorney down the street is going to give all their money to them. So they don't have the funds to do the research and the investigation that they would need to prove this person's hiding assets and has income. So that's my long answer, as we attorneys know how to do, is to give a long answer. But that's why I think other attorneys don't do it, because one, they're not educated, not trained like I was, and it doesn't feed their pockets.
Yeah.
Sorry, attorney, if you're watching.
Yeah, we won't tell them. I think it's a great answer because, I mean, the alignment with your values is amazing. And then also I was sitting here thinking while you're talking, it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where becoming more educated is a bad outcome. Like I just can't think of one. So it's such a great service just to provide.
Yeah, it comes down to just life in general. It's like the more educated we are, the more empowered we are as citizens, as human beings, as litigants. And there is a disservice an attorney gives when they can't afford to educate their client. And I understand the why, because again, somebody says to me, oh, Miss Garrett, I have a trial tomorrow and I've got this and we're fighting about this, but pro bono, can you do this for free? So the rule is pro bono equals a lot of drama. They go together because, oh, Miss Garrett, I've spent 50 grand. I have nothing left to give. Again, bottom line is it lines up with my values. And I know that a lot of people really will benefit from the coaching. Why? Because I've done this for almost 24 years as a coach. And so it's perfect. It's a beautiful blend of what I tell my clients is that I provide for flexibility, where you can start with coaching, maybe end with coaching, or you can start with coaching and transition to either limited scope or for full representation. But so when somebody says, well, how long will this take and how much does this cost? I go, I haven't a clue. This is not my case. These are not my facts. I don't know the level of drama. And they go like, that's fair. Some other attorney gave me a number. I said, well, he's lying to you. FYI, just saying. And they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. So as you can see, I do care. My joy comes in where I get a coaching client who's got a hearing in a week or two, and the other side has an attorney who's certified in family law, and like, ooh, they're going to get, try to take advantage of my coaching client. So then I train my client, they're ready for the trial, and they call me or email me, Miss Garrett, I won. I get a high on that. That's my highs. People do drugs, alcohol, mine is that.
That's amazing. That's a great point. That's a great point to kind of wrap up on that high note with our discussion today. So Linda, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this wisdom. Yeah. And for those of you listening, thank you for tuning into California Virtual Family Law Attorney with founder Linda C. Garrett. To connect with Linda and her team, head to lindacgarrettlaw.com. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review before you leave. And with that, have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.